Greetings, friends. This is Dr. Richard Marks, and welcome to A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman, a reading of my unpublished novel, In Chapters. I hope you'll enjoy it. Chapter 34. Then, Always for Pleasure. That was fun. Let's go to the Carousel Bar in the Monteleone, Gabby directed. You're the boss, I said, as it was becoming obvious that she was. We sat at the famous Carousel Bar, Gabs on a lion chair and me on an elephant, and ordered 2 Vieux Carres, a whiskey cognac vermouth drink apparently invented at the Monteleone and named after the French Quarter itself. We ordered second rounds, and after finishing about half her drinks, Gabby excused herself. I chatted with the bartender, a knowledgeable fellow named Marcus, until Gabby returned. She walked up to me, slid a room key in my shirt pocket, and whispered in a voice which sent 50,000 volts through me, "Give me 10 minutes." Turned and walked out. I quickly finished my drink and turned to follow. Marcus put his hand on my arm and said, "She said wait 10 minutes, sir. I'm sure it will be worth the wait." "Thank you, Marcus. The Vieux Carres are quite strong. I lost my head." "Perfectly understandable, sir. Perfectly understandable." After the required 10 minutes of watching the clock like a schoolboy in June, I pulled a C-note out of my jacket and thanked Marcus. "Sir, this is far too generous." "Always for pleasure, Marcus, always for pleasure." And I made my way to the 10th floor, room 1045. As I paused at the door, I noticed it wasn't room 1045. It was suite 1045, the FJ Monteleone Suite. I opened the door, and there she was, naked on a beautiful king-size bed. This was a corner suite, and all the windows were open to Royal Street and Iberville, 10 floors below. I moved toward the bed, undressing as I crossed the room. "Welcome to the Vieux Carres, my darling," Gabby purred, as I finally made it to the bed. "Seeing you in that suit was too much, but seeing you now—" She didn't finish what she was saying, but spun around on her back and pulled me onto her. Our mouths found each other, but slowly I worked my way down her tawny body. With the tip of my tongue, I lightly traced a line on the inside of her caramel right leg, from her ankle all the way up. There was a species of frog in Nam, Thermodura corticale, or the Vietnamese mossy frog, and rumor was that licking it would give you an LSD-like trip. I never tried it, but the closer my tongue got to the promised land, the more I felt like Gabby must have dipped her body in some type of hallucinogenic drug, as every inch my tongue traveled on her skin made me feel like I was undergoing some spiritual transformation. I was becoming something and someone different, at one with Gabriella and the sound of the street wafting up, at one with the French Quarter, its vibe, its history. My only desire was to give Gabs as much pleasure as I could. Just like the previous night when we were both independently remembering our first chaste night together, it was obvious that Gabs also had my pleasure foremost on her mind as we shifted to pleasure each other. In a funny way, I almost felt like we were competing to see whose tongue could bring who to climax the soonest. Honey, cinnamon, butter, I can't be sure, but now I know what perfection tastes like. In honor of the great traditions of the Crescent City, we shifted to the traditional missionary position. As we synchronized rhythm, we locked eyes. Our rhythm synchronized, it was an almost spiritual existence, the very definition of bliss. That is until Gabs got an almost panic look in her eyes. Then it happened. Her eyes rolled back and she started jerking, almost as if she were being electrocuted. Her legs wrapped around me like we were in a flood. It was as if every muscle in her body was tensing and relaxing, tensing and relaxing. Sexually, the sensation was amazing, as it felt like a mouth on me from inside her. She relaxed, but then, like the earthquakes I remember from my time in California, it seemed like aftershocks coming one after another, decreasing in intensity. Between each shock, Gab was almost uncontrollably laughing, then another shock, then laughing. When the mighty quake ended, she looked at me. "Nothing like that has ever happened before," she whispered. Because I still wasn't completely certain, I replied, "Was that a good thing?" She let out a nasty chortle. Oh yes, it was a very good thing. So, Mr. Weebling, would you care to join me in the shower? Yes, a million times yes, I said. But in my head I was thinking, yes, yes, a million times yes, and at dinner I'll tell you why there is no Mr. Weebling. We showered and I finally actually looked at the suite. It was fantastic. Geez, what did this room cost? This doesn't look like the rate by the hour type of establishment, I said with a laugh. Gabby laughed. Actually, I'm going to owe the hotel a few bucks. I only rented it for 30 minutes. I didn't think you could last much longer. It was the drinks. They numbed me, and again I was whacked with a pillow. We wandered through the French Quarter down Frenchman Street to listen to some jazz in a couple of clubs until it was time to walk back and pick up my new suit. The attention Gabriella was getting was fun to watch. Guys looked, but tried not to appear to be looking, and women just looked, often elbowing their henpecked husbands and boyfriend. She was stunning. In addition to her amazing looks, I felt she radiated joy. To say she was glowing would be to give myself far too much credit. She didn't seem to pay any attention to the attention as we held hands strolling through the quarter. Suddenly Gabby stopped. Oh my God, do you hear that? It's a second line. Before I could ask what the heck a second line is, Gabs grabbed my hand and was dragging me up the street. As we turned onto Chartres, she let out a little scream. There they are! Come on, let's join in! I had never seen anything like this. A bride and groom and their wedding party, followed by a brass band with a large group of people behind them all dancing down the street. Many of the marchers/dancers were holding parasols, and as we approached, several of them said, "How y'all doing, all right?" We joined the group. Gabby looked gorgeous dancing along, and me embarrassingly shuffling to keep up. The band started a new song that I suppose everybody in the world knew, except for me. Something about grandmas and flag boys. As the chorus started, Gabs grabbed my ass and shouted, "Move that moneymaker lover! Hey now, Iko ane." Her joy was infectious. She was the 16-year-old that I loved all my life. That face was the face I imagined when I closed my eyes while I was with every $10 hooker in Nam. She was my destiny. We started singing. Well, she started singing. I just responded every time she sang, "Hey now." I gave her a "hey now" back as we followed along. Our entourage passed a store, a hat store. I caught sight of myself reflected in the shop window. Time stopped. There was a 30-year-old man dancing like an idiot down the street singing, "Talk about hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, Iko ane. Giacomo fino anane, Giacomo finane." No one I knew or had ever known, save her, would have ever imagined me like that. I myself did a double take to make sure it was my reflection I was looking at. Memories flew past me, so few of them happy. Could this be reality? Singing, making love, having fun? The song ended, and Gabby leapt into my arms. The celebration continued up Rue Chartres, as we stood in the middle of the street in each other's arms, oblivious to the world around us. I was happy. As we returned to Canal Street, I could swear the salesmen were watching the window for us as we arrived to pick up my suit. It looked like all of them had changed their pants as well. As we walked in, the salesman was on the phone. "Please tell Mayor Morial that we had an emergency come up and his suit won't be ready today. It will be ready next Monday, and of course, we'll credit a 10% discount for the trouble." "Hey, Mayor, you just need my Gabs to get top-notch service in this fine establishment," I thought to myself. The suit fit like a dream. It had been a long time since I'd worn a tailored suit. In fact, it was my marine blues. I excused myself and went into the changing room and transferred certain items, a Walter PPK and 5,000 large, well, 4,900 large, to my new suit. They disappeared into it like a dream. "Since you're going out on the town, I will be happy to have your street clothes delivered to your home," the salesman said. Gabby said, "Oh, isn't that a bother? We live in Algiers Point." She did that hand on the arm thing again. "No problem. In fact, it would be our pleasure." "You're such a darling," she purred, and the salesman blushed with happiness. As we left the store and crossed Canal, I glanced back at the store and caught the staff staring out of the shop window at the amazing creature on my arm. I couldn't blame them. I was also feeling pretty spiffy with my elegant new suit. I figured I would get some attention as well. But I was wrong. Bourbon Street was a little more boisterous, and the attention my beautiful bride was getting was a bit more demonstrative. It was almost welcome when we entered the restaurant. Reservation for Weebling. Gabby told the hostess and gave me a mischievous glance. I started to feel like I was in a dream and I'd wake up handcuffed to a hospital bed with a gunshot wound. It would have been lucky number 6. But as we were led to our table, I was taking in the restaurant with its green and gold decor just as much as the patrons were taking us in. And by us, you know who I mean. Galatoire is a noisy place with a very celebratory atmosphere, but the volume level audibly dropped when Gabby walked through. "You look amazing," she said. "That suit was made for you." "Thanks again. You really shouldn't have." "Nonsense. You deserve the best." I looked her right in the eye and I replied, "I have the best." "See, you are a silver-tongued devil," then quietly added, "I wish you were under this table putting that silver tongue to better use." Yes, it had been a whopping 3 hours since we made love, but her random vulgarity was very arousing to me, partially because it was delivered with such wit, and partially because I considered the source. We started off the meal with a couple New Orleans-devised cognacs, the Sazerac. Christ, this town sure knows how to drink. They were wonderful. I had a second, while Gabri ordered wine, a 1973 Chateau Monteleone Chardonnay. Linen suits, luxury hotel suites, Italian poets, Italian shoes, $200 glasses of wine. Something didn't add up. It sure looked like well over a couple $100, maybe 3, on the stage of The Bright Light the other night. But this fine lady had fine taste, and had she not tasted so fine, I would have been more concerned. But here I was in a restaurant that was over 100 years old, eating food that was out of this world with the most beautiful woman in the world. And no, that's not the Sazeracs talking. As we were about halfway through our meal, a distinguished gentleman walked up to our table. He must have been about 70, bald with an impressive handlebar mustache. He was also wearing a well-concealed shoulder holster under his jacket with a .32 caliber Colt Police Positive revolver, the special 4-inch barrel. "Please excuse the interruption, Miss Blue. It's an enormous pleasure to see you here this evening." "Commissioner Fortier, what an honor. Do allow me to introduce one of my oldest friends, Mr. William Weebling of Youngstown, Ohio." I stood up to shake his hand. "Commissioner, it's an honor to make your acquaintance." "A true gentleman never shakes another man's hand while seated. Mr. Weebling, the honor is mine." "William, Commissioner Fortier is the commissioner for all of Orleans Parish," Gabby informed me. "Mr. Weebling, truth be told, my position involves mostly sitting behind a desk and running to City Hall when one politician or another get their feathers in a ruffle. You two are old friends, but I can't imagine anything about you that could even be vaguely described as old. And you certainly look like you're more than friends to me. But I'm just an old romantic. Please excuse the interruption of your dinner, and a wonderful night to both of you. Au revoir." "Thank you, sir," I said as the lawman left us. "Thank you, Commissioner." A few minutes after clearing our plates, the waiter brought us a very large piece of key lime pie and a small kettle of coffee. "With our compliments," the waiter exclaimed. "If I eat this, you'll have to carry me home," I joked. "If I eat it, they might not let me on the ferry for fear I'll sink it," she laughed. "Why do I get the feeling you could persuade them to let you on in any circumstances?" We laughed and devoured the pie, sword-fighting with our forks as we shared the dessert. "Will there be anything else?" the waiter asked. I quickly said, "No, just the check, please." I could see Gabriella about to protest when the waiter said, "Commissioner Fortier has taken care of your dinner with his compliments." At first I was a little pissed off, but they do have a very gracious way here that reminded me in some strange ways of Vietnam. Well, some parts of it at least. We strolled arm in arm in the moonlight down Bourbon Street, which was much quieter now than it had been. I started to count the number of steps we could take before stopping and kissing. It seemed like the most we got up to was 20 or so. As we neared Canal Street, Gabby veered us toward a gift shop. "Let's go in. You need a souvenir." I tried to come up with a line, "You're my souvenir," or "You're the only gift I need," but good taste only allowed, "Sure." As we wandered through the million t-shirts, Gabriella spotted a photo booth. "Come on!" And 4 flashes later, we were waiting for the "weren't ready," nice smile, goofy face, kissing photos to drop. I walked over to look at some Mardi Gras masks and turned around to see Gabriella stepping out of the booth, adjusting her clothes. "What's up?" I asked, and she handed me the picture strip. I looked at it, at us, and said, "If I didn't know better, I'd say those people are in love." The booth dinged again, and Gabriella grabbed the strip and quickly put it in her purse. We hurried to the ferry launch and boarded for the long 10-minute trip across the mighty Mississippi, watching as the St. Louis Cathedral started to shrink. We stood on the deck holding each other, kissing in such a way that it was good that it was past the bedtime of any children. I kissed her again and pulled back so our noses were touching. I wonder if the captain of the ferry can perform weddings. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Are you serious?" she asked. "Serious as a headshot." Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. But fortunately, she didn't seem to notice. "Tomorrow night, since you're such a history buff, I was thinking of going to the Napoleon House for dinner. You'll love the story. They have a booth in a private little alcove. I'll request it. Let's talk things over tonight. And if you ask me that question tomorrow night, I'll say yes." After we docked, we decided to walk along the river, up the levee to Villette. We stopped along the way, sitting on a bench overlooking the river with the cathedral on the other side, looking like a painting in the moonlight and mist. "Billy, I haven't been completely honest with you, so because we seem to be headed somewhere special in this relationship, I want to tell you everything. I'm being 100% honest when I tell you that I've thought about you almost every day for the past 16 years. I actually hired detectives 3 times to try to find you. I guess they weren't very good since none of them came up with anything." I can explain that. There is no William Weebling, I thought to myself. And to start with the small stuff, I do speak some Italian. I was adopted at age 4 by an older couple, the Barisis. They wanted a children, and I guess out of all the kids in the orphanage, with my dark complexion, I looked the most Italian, or maybe Sicilian. They were the sweetest people, but when I was 9, Mama Barisi died suddenly, and Child Services returned me to foster care. Mr. Barisi tried to get me back, but he passed away about a year after his wife. I went to live with a foster family, but that didn't work out, so I was back in the system. When I was 13, I was sent to another foster family, but I was abused by my foster parent. I ran away and I was caught and spent a year in juvenile detention. Then I wound up at the Klauses. I'd been there for a horrible 6 months being abused by Mr. and Mrs. Klaus. Then you showed up, a snotty little 14-year-old. I remember one night when Klaus was supposed to be taking me to church school, but we went to his friend's house. They made me drink, then Klaus let them have me, all of them. I was 15. They did such disgusting things to me. They hurt me so bad. I would have killed myself that night, but you heard me crying and held me the whole night, telling me it would be all right. Honestly, there have been times when I hated you for that, because it wasn't ever all right, and so many times I wish I had died that night." "I remember," I said softly. "Then you left me." "You know I had to." "I know, and you saved me from that bastard, so I had to forgive you, and I hope you'll forgive me when I tell you this." Her voice was breaking. She was a sobbing mess. "I don't just strip, I do other things." Holy shit, is that the big reveal? I had figured that out when she was going to throw a grand down on a suit. I've been here in New Orleans for 5 years, and in that time, I've sold myself. Darling, I wasn't born yesterday. You are a goddess, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You used what you had, and I'm in no position, nor do I have any desire to judge you in any way. And here's where the end of my story begins. I love you. The past 2 days have been the happiest of my life. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I love you too, Billy. Okay, now it was my turn to come clean. You know, darling, killing a man changes you forever. There's no coming back from it. I will be a murderer until the day I die. I don't care. That's so far in the past. And she kissed me. Make love to me right here. I want you inside of me. Fuck, is there anything sexier a woman can say? I guess all the things I had to say can wait. Well, first things first. We made fairly awkward love right there on the banks of the Mississippi, on a wooden bench. It was like teenager sex. The diamond-studded sky, the river song just 20 feet away, and the scent of the night mingling with Gabby's perfume, Chanel No. 19. It was hypnotic. I should have been more concerned with the suit, but when you have a woman like that straddling you, the brain does a funny thing. The muscles in her thighs were slightly outlined as she slowly rose and fell on me. I shuddered with unimaginable pleasure when she came all the way down against me, only to raise herself again. Suddenly she lowered herself completely onto me and stopped. Even with the moonbeams diffused by the light river mist, even through her dark skin, I could see Gabriella's face flush with the night. She stared into my eyes, face to face, her eyes locked into mine for at least 15 seconds. "Let's take this home, slowpoke," she said as she grabbed my hand, and we raced to her bed like two virgins anticipating our first fuck. And there we fucked. We didn't make love. We didn't have sex. It was fucking, the best fucking imaginable. There was thunder in our hearts and lightning between our bodies. This is sort of strange to say, but it had an almost violent aspect. Light choking, hair pulling, spitting, fingernails raking my back. It was like we were exorcising our demons. The crucifixion of Christ is commonly called the Passion, in which he died to forgive the sins of the world, and I began to understand the transformational agony that was the Passion. I felt we were transcending our sins, hers carnal and mine homicidal. It was scarily violent and fucking hot. Gabby's orgasm exploded, soaking the bed, which was already saturated with our sweat. "Come up here," she commanded. As I crawled up to do so, she gently slid a finger in me. I came like never before. We collapsed in a wet, sticky mess on the bed, and more passed out rather than fell asleep. As someone who has experienced the best whorehouses in Vietnam, Tokyo, Vancouver, and even Bangkok, experiences that would make you Hefner blush, this was the wildest fuck I've ever had. I woke up at 04:21 and hit the head. As I came back to bed, she turned over. "What?" she said, half asleep. "Nothing, love. Just had to pee." She slid under me, and we made half-asleep love. This was the exact opposite of our exorcism fuck just a couple hours before. It was, well, shit, I just have to say it, dreamy. Thank you for listening to A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman, copyright 2025, as read by me, the author, Dr. Richard Marks. A new chapter will be posted each week. A Murder Most Foul is produced and recorded at Batavia Studios in Jakarta. This podcast and A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman are solely works of fiction, and any similarities to persons living or dead are merely coincidental. The music used in this podcast is the second movement of Franz Schubert's Piano Trio in E-flat, Opus 100. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to email me at drrichardmarks@gmail.com. That's drrichardmarcs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, Please like and subscribe to the podcast and tell a friend. Thank you, and until next week, be more than you seem.